You know what James Baldwin said in that classic essay of his, Everybody's Protest novel, about Harriet Beecher Stowe? And about Richard Wright, actually, about The Native Son. He says, by essentializing the protest character and the defeated character of the slave, of the dominated person, it robs them of their humanity. That's what I read him as saying. Asking myself some of these kinds of questions of, what do I do with my time and what do I really care about? And recharging is one of the things that I thought might be pretty cool. Just deciding I wanted to learn about the French Revolution, or I wanted to learn about, quantum mechanics, or, I wanted to read novels. Man, I'm reading an amazing novel. Percival Everett of Erasure.
Yeah. You mean that other one he wrote?
His new one is called James.
Yeah. What is it about?
It's about, excuse me, everybody out there who's sensitive, Nigger Jim. It's about Huckleberry Finn.
Mm-hmm.
He reimagines the character of the slave friend of Huck Finn, Jim,
mm-hmm.
notoriously known as Nigger Jim in the book, because that's what Mark Twain called him.
Mm-hmm.
He reimagines this guy, and there's a lot of interior monologue and a lot of, kind of fantastical realism kind of stuff that goes on. The guy has conversations with John Locke and with Voltaire in his mind. In his mind he has, in his delirium he has, but I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to spoil this for people, but in real life, in the day-to-day life, he be Nigger Jim. He be Nigger Jim over here. Can't read nothing, can't write nothing, can't talk nothing. But in his mind, he finds a pencil. A slave has to basically give his life for this pencil. But Nigger Jim, James, Percival Everett would appreciate that, ends up with this pencil. He says, with my pencil, I wrote my being into existence. I wrote myself to here. That's a sentence in the book that I committed to memory because it is so powerful. With a pencil. And I thought, Percival Everett is sitting there writing this sentence with a pencil. He wrote his being into existence. He wrote himself to here. The struggle for the dignity of the enslaved person lies at the core of this, I think, really masterful work, which I'm 2/3 of the way through.
You know what I'm reading, if we're on that, because I have something that's kind of complementary to it? I'm reading Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Oh, wow. Harriet Beecher Stowe.
Yeah, and you read about it, but I never thought about actually reading it. But a friend of mine said that it was actually good, which I frankly doubted.
Oh, I doubt that too.
Kind of long. It is good. I mean, you have to adjust to the fruity, grandiloquence of the way somebody wrote back then. And so, a lot of flowery text, especially when it's just narration. That was the style. But if you can kind of get past that, it is a crackling good tale. And more to the point, as melodramatic as it is in its way, it really does get at the horror of what slavery was. That's what she was working for, and she does it very well, what it felt like to have your family being ripped apart. And I must admit, I always look forward to getting back to it, although it's, almost 500 pages long. It certainly is more tugging on my heartstrings than War and Peace did during the pandemic. It's actually, I can see why it had the effect it had. It's a good book.
You can't be comparing Beecher Stowe to Tolstoy. You can't be doing that. I didn't hear that. You know what James Baldwin said in that classic essay of his, Everybody's Protest novel, about Harriet Beecher Stowe? And about Richard Wright, actually, about The Native Son. He says this is by essentializing the protest character and the defeated character of the slave, of the dominated person, it robs them of their humanity. That's what I read him as saying. And I thought of Baldwin's critique of Beecher Stowe when the world went crazy about Ta-Nehisi Coates' Between the World and Me, because I thought it was very much of a protest novel. It's not a novel, it's a memoir, but it's in that spirit of giving eloquent voice to, I think it is eloquent in places, the dilemma, which Percival Everett is doing in his way through this character, James. I mean, the dilemma of the slave, the enslaved person, the dominated person. So it interests me that that novel interests you at this time, and you're finding it worthy of its epical status.
I'm touched. Yeah. Um, you're right, and it is sacrilegious of me to say that the person who wrote Anna Karenina isn't as good as the person who wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin. And no doubt. I mean, Tolstoy was the greater artist in the general sense. War and Peace as narrative is tough because the parts about the war are turgid at this point, and you keep waiting for him to get back to the people. No, she's not an artist on that level. And these characters are set up to be about their tragedy. That's what you're supposed to think about, and you don't get enough of the other things. You have to work to imagine a lot of them ever smiling. Uncle Tom is an utterly ridiculous character. I see why he has the reputation that he does. I'm exactly halfway through. But goodness, many of the things that have happened and the way she describes them in that close, wordy style, which sometimes ends up bringing you closer, it does the same job that, say, for example, Roots did, even if he made most of it up. Alex Haley was a good writer. It does the same sort of thing, except, it kind of zooms in closer often. She also tries to take you into the head of the whites, and some of them come off rather well. She various shades of how white people saw black people and for what reason. She doesn't let anybody off the hook. It's, you should take a look and tell me if you find it utterly unbearable, because I never thought I was going to pick it up. But my friend, a white friend, she was right. I was saying, are you sure this is actually a good book? And she said, yeah, you won't be able to put it down. Right.
Okay, I will file that away under things to be considered. No commitment here. You say it's long. Life is short, by the way. That's the other part of the story.
I know.